raising awareness through every track. All-Star PD Sportscast on the rise, shouting loud, reaching the skies. Can't stop, won't stop, our game is strong, fighting Parkinson's all day long. Tim's charm.
Welcome everyone. I'm all geared up, ready to go today for a special, really special, a million times episode of All-Star PD Sportscast. Today, with your host, actually co-host, my brother in advocacy. I always do this, I got it right. It's always the opposite, but Tim please follow him, support him on Instagram and all social media at my PD Party. And I'm Sharon's son, of course, Dr. George Ackerman. Lost my mother due to Parkinson's. It's sad. It's going to be 6 years soon. When those years change, it's amazing how it really does feel just yesterday. But we fight on in her memory for everybody battling Parkinson today. And this show, we discuss the world of sports, slowing the progression of Parkinson disease. We have an incredible guest, but before we get to that, I do have to mention the Portland Trailblazers are probably one of my favorite teams in history. So I finally got to use this. I never worn it. It even has a tag, like you want to laugh. It has a tag on. But I wanted to welcome everyone listening. We love you and hope you're doing well. But I'm going to send the show for some opening comments. Again, my brother here, Tim.
Guys, what is shaking? I'm so happy to be doing this again today. I was looking forward to this. You did not tell me it was dressed down Friday. Here I have a nice shirt and a basketball jersey. But at least we have the Portland Trailblazers covered, and
also the Lakers
team, which is a little bit of an homage to we're going to talk about one of our guests today. Listen, one of the reasons I'm really excited about today is you always love when you can speak to somebody who has an affiliation with one of these big advocacy and foundations of Parkinson's, but a lot of times that person is not affected individually by Parkinson's. It's somebody who just brings something else to the table, but they're not personally affected. So I'm very excited for this interview today, and I'll let you take it away.
Thanks. I wanted to, welcome you, Amy, back to the show in a way. You've been just an incredible support. Someone I think of a lot when I, find some days even for me are tough, whether my own issues, medical, the world, in DC, politics, but days I want to give up or think it's, I can't bring my mother back. I look to you, Amy, no pressure, but true, Amy out there battling and also doing so much for her community and really the world, and that's what keeps me going. So we wanted to both send a virtual hug, but a big welcome to you, Amy. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I think I just want to take you guys home so you can constantly be my cheerleading squad. I mean, wow, what a way to make me feel. Thank you so much for having me back.
Listen, this is what we do. And I got to tell you, I mean, I know we're here to talk about the foundation, but I also said I think it's important for somebody like yourself, like me, who has Parkinson's, if you don't mind, just talk a little bit about your diagnosis and maybe some of your early struggles. I mean, like if I read up on you right, one of your problems, not problems, but you had a newborn, I believe, or a very
yeah.
My kids were a little older, so the hardest part for me was trying to tell children of an older age that this was affecting me. I can imagine that what you were dealing with, that was a little bit of a different struggle. So maybe you could just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I was diagnosed in 2016, and I was symptomatic when I was pregnant with our last son. But of course, I thought it was all pregnancy symptoms. I explained it all away. And then, you know, about 6 months in, started saying something's not right and went to see the doctors. And by the time he was about 1, I got the diagnosis that it was Parkinson's. And I remember I was still nursing him at the time and realizing that if I was going to get a DAT scan, I had to stop nursing him. And that really hit me. I was just like, wow, it's not even all the things Parkinson's was taken away. That was just another thing that it was robbing me of. For my kids, my younger two, this is all they know. All they know is mom with Parkinson's. My oldest was 6 at the time, so he has some memories of me prior and post. It was harder on me because I had this vision of a mom I wanted to be. When my first two were younger, I mean, I was taking them to the farms, on hikes, to the playground, to the museums. By the time Zachary was born, first of all, I was just depression-wise, anxiety-wise, in deep hole. I mean, the thought of leaving the house, it was very difficult. And then I, of course, had that guilt of I'm not going to be the mom for him. What kind of mom can I be for him? Am I going to be fun? Am I going to be able to do these things and take him out? And that was a big adjustment. I finally had to come around and say, yeah, I'm not going to be the same mom. It doesn't mean I'm not going to be a good mom, but I'm not going to be that Pinterest mom. So my motto was, you're not the mom you plan to be, but you're the mom you're supposed to be. And so they know no different, which on one hand is great because this is just a normal life to them. On the other hand, there are times when I'm like, "Oof, I'm so tired. Can you guys help me out?" And my teenager now is like, geez, mom, I'm just as tired. It's like, no, no, you guys, seriously. But
Well, I
yeah,
wanted,
it's mhm.
no, I want to also thank you for, I know you might not admit it or want to take, say it, but for being in a way a pioneer for the advocacy world, because I know when I started my own show in one-on-one, which you actually were on, I want to thank you again and again for that. But I wanted to kind of bring something different and unique. And I hosted many shows just by accident, but I'm glad it happened with many females and young females that are battling Parkinson's because as you know, and many out there, it's not the old fashioned, white old man, elderly disease, which we all are trying to get rid of that stigma. So here we have someone who is energetic, amazing, and really just out there, taking a stand in a way, even if you didn't plan on it, because we have to think about so many women out there today being diagnosed or battling who truly feel alone. And again, I want to thank you and commend you for that role, even if you didn't, plan to start out that way.
Thank you. It's selfish on my part. It's self-preservation because when I was diagnosed, the town I was in, they had a great Parkinson's community, but I was the youngest by 30 to 40 years. I'm
It's
the
a,
only one there changing diapers. And it was just, I came to the decision of, I was at this crossroads of how are we going to live with this? And it's like, well, I got to be happy because I'm raising my kids, but I
yeah,
also, for anybody out there who's like me, who is desperate to just share that story, I wanted to be that person. And we just had a YOPD con about 2 weeks ago, and the amount of young women I see who have young kids, I can go up to them and say, I know what it's like to tremor while you're changing a diaper, you know. So that was just, if I got this disease, I needed to make something good come out of it, and it was helping to, you know, have a hug waiting for that person, for that mom that needs it.
and I'll tell you, Amy, people like yourself are the reason. I hate the term came out, but like I know what it's like to be in that corner and be in a dark room and not wondering what the next day of your life is going to look like, especially with children. And I understand that. You feel like it's robbing a piece of you every day, every moment. And I agree. I started going to the rock steady boxings and some of the things where I was by far and away the youngest person. And at first, I kind of quit because I felt like it was a view into my future that I didn't want to see, and it scared me. But what I did realize is I needed community. And people like yourself made that easy for me to come out and say, you know what, this doesn't define me. It's the new me. It's part of me. It
Exactly.
takes courage to do that. So, like George said, I want to take a second to applaud yourself and people such as you that made it easy for people like me to be able to talk about something like this. So, thank you.
Well, well, thank you. I mean, it's just the more we come out and speak, the more people are paying attention that look, this is not just an aging disease. This is affecting a whole new subset. And I'll tell you too, those classes where you go to where you are the youngest, it was hard at first, but then I realized, man, these are some
All
really awesome people. I remember one of my sessions was like an 87-year-old woman who was swearing she was not going to quit skiing. They were going to have to pry those poles out of her hand. I was like, you know what? That's the attitude I want and that perseverance I want when I get there.
and it's amazing what you can pick up. Like you just said, you think you don't pick something like that up, but that spoke volumes to you. It's like I can imagine.
Hmm.
Well, we
Yeah.
focus here on not just advocacy, of course, an area that I and many of you listening have gone through some tough times, fun times, and in really exciting times through sports. One thing, too, research does show, thankfully, although there's no cure, research shows that sports, all of them really, many of them more than others, but can slow the progression of Parkinson's. We're going to get to the foundation you work with, but before that, in your own personal life and maybe some programs at the Brian Graham Foundation, what type of sports do you do in your life to help, on some of those tougher days, but, battle this disease.
It's kind of funny. I'm probably one of the least athletic people you'll ever meet,
It's
but I
okay.
did row. I did crew in high school and college, and that is something that I still just love to watch. So my exercises, I have a rowing machine in our garage,
Great.
and my good friend Todd Vogt, you know, we geek out about the head of the Charles and the Olympics he was in. So that's, I would say,
Nice.
my sport. Other than that, it is watching my kids play. They're into basketball. So that's the sporting events I attend.
Hey, listen, there's nothing wrong with that. I know the feeling. You do enough running around to the soccer fields and the sporting events. I get it. Um, Now, let me ask you, because to me, again, the advocacy part is huge. Um, what made you specifically get in? Like, was there a moment? Was there something you saw that wanted to make you get into advocacy? And what made you chose the foundation that was there something specific that made you choose that?
So it wasn't long after I was diagnosed. I was sitting in my car by myself, I think at the dollar store. And on the public radio, they were actually interviewing the editor from Slate magazine. And forgive me, I don't remember his name. And he was diagnosed with Parkinson's. And I just sat there and I listened, I was crying. And he said that you get to a point where you come to a cross in the road where you are either the doer or the hider. And he's like, I'm the hider. I put my head in the sand. My friends and family take care of me. He's like, Michael J. Fox is the doer, and you have to decide what you're going to do. And that was the moment where it was like, okay, I am raising these kids. I cannot just be in a hole the entire time. That is not fair to them. So I've got to step up and figure out what I'm going to do. And I just started, volunteering. The two foundations that were really prevalent in my town were Parkinson's Resources of Oregon and the Brian Grant Foundation. So I just started reaching out and signing up for what I could do. And I think just after annoying them enough, Katrina called Brian Grant Foundation, said, why don't you join us? We need somebody to tell us what you actually really need and what is beneficial. You know, and then you can bring it to the community too of what this foundation is about. So they called me up and said, why don't you be the Parkinson's community liaison? And I was like, that sounds perfect. So I kind of laugh that I come in with all these ideas and they're like, slow down. We don't
Oh,
have the budget.
Mhm.
So I'm like, well,
that's
wouldn't it
great.
be great if we did this?
Well,
Yeah.
we appreciate all that you do, and I think your communication skills are incredible because I've gotten you some to join us on two shows now, and again, I feel the show we're on now and those live on really forever until we have a cure. So thanks again for your support. Now I want to just share with everyone listening, and again, I'll give Tim and I will add this to the notes, so no need to handwrite this, but the Brian Grant Foundation at bryantgrant.org. Maybe you could talk a moment about the mission. I mean, we should probably start with who is Mr. Brian Grant, and then maybe a little bit about your job as in communication.
Well, Mr. Brian Grant, he is such a wonderful soul. He's a big, cuddly teddy bear. You meet him and he's just so kind and so generous and giving. But he was the first person, I would say, public face that I read about that was truly honest about the mental health side of Parkinson's, talking about being in a depression, being in a deep hole, and just reading some of the interviews he had given. I just related so much to him. And the fact that he could be this public person and be honest about something that is still, I would say, still kind of taboo. People talk about mental health and there's still that stigma, but he was so honest. And so what he's done with the foundation is created something where, we can share our stories, where he's, helping to develop something to help us just live our daily lives, live our best lives. How do you do that through community? How do you do that with mental health? How do you do that with nutrition and exercise? So my position there is really to help share the stories and, just promote programs that can create that community and share our stories. I do a young onset support group locally in Portland, Oregon. We have a care partners group I do. And then online we have, journal club and a craft and chat. And really those are just to get people together and just create that community. And we don't have to talk about Parkinson's, but we can talk about other things with knowing that we're all in the same situation together.
You
I
know, I will
love,
too. two things as far as we're talking about Mr. Brian Grant. Um, I've always said on this show that the bigger the spotlight, the bigger the advocacy. The Michael J. Foxes, the Kirk Gibsons, obviously the Brian Grants. So I applaud him so much for, like you said, being one of those pioneers to come out and talking about it. And obviously, anybody who knows me knows I'm a big Laker fan, so I'll give you my address off so you can send me that nice autographed Lakers jersey.
I do want to take a minute and reintroduce my co-host Tim because he's also our statistician. So I know I'm putting him on the spot, but maybe you could tell a little bit about what he did and who he played with.
Brian Grant was one of the most tenacious players in the league. And it's funny you asked me that, George, because that's one of the things I thought about when I found out that he had Parkinson's, was that he's mentally strong. And I'm sure obviously Amy can attest to that more than I can, but I viewed him as somebody who, if you had to have your head on right and have courage to battle something, he's your guy. He was a big rebounder, a big defender. So he had a ton of heart. So if there was a guy that was going to be able to battle this, like, he's one of the faces you would put on it, that you have the confidence in knowing he could get through it. And I do think it's huge, absolutely huge. And George knows this. I always talk about the mental aspect of this disease. I mean, listen, this disease, let's face it, it starts in your brain. So one of the things you have to get right is your head, because if your head's not on right, you're not ready to fight this. And listen, I know it takes a while to get to that place, but that's huge. So I think the fact that he focuses on mental health is a big thing.
Well, and what I appreciate too is he doesn't sit there go, "Hey, I fixed it." That he has talked about, yeah, he's had ups and done really well, and then he crashed again,
Yeah.
and then he does really well and he crashed again. So I feel like he's just truly an honest person, because that's what we all go through. And I don't want to look at somebody who's just fixed it, because that's not real life. And I just appreciate that he is so honest and humble about that. Because then you're like, okay, there's not something true. Well, there is something truly wrong with me, but it's like I can relate to that. That is so, realistic.
It's listen, it's honest and refreshing. And I have found too that, like, I think at first I just wanted to post good things because I was trying to make people feel better. But then I realized the better advocacy was to be honest and show the truth, because you're not going to believe me, or anybody with Parkinson's is not going to believe me if I come on and just show you my bright and sunny days, because we all know they're not. So I think
Yeah.
it's important to show the right side of, the good and the bad, both sides of Parkinson's, because it's the human side. It's what makes people relatable. It's what makes you believe you're not alone. That's the most important thing.
Exactly. Exactly. That's exactly what it is, it's not always fun to show, but yeah, in order to show what this disease is like, you need to show those down times. And I really think that helps the newly diagnosed as well, because they're going, okay, all right, there is a way out of this, and I'm watching this person, and they're going to be my guide.
Correct.
And I want to thank you actually both for not letting Parkinson's ever in a way slow you down, because I had honestly, one of the biggest moments in my life. I won't get emotional here, but I probably will. But to be able to not just hug, but meet both of you, like at the same, it was just such an overwhelming event. Hopefully in the future, we'll be back there together. Now we kind of know the layout and we know it's chaos, so we can plan, but to meet Tim and you, Amy, at Washington, D.C. through the Michael J. Fox Foundation, being invited to be one of the, three of us of the 200 to 250 advocates countrywide to bring change, and having the Brian Grant Foundation represented by you, Amy, and Gavin. We send our love, and we send our love to Mr. Grant and everybody, Katrina, that's making the world a better place, not just for Portland, but you can see it reaching here, Florida, and Tim's in New Jersey. So it's really getting to be not just country, but worldwide. So grateful for that moment forever, and also this moment, but also so many more to come. I wanted to also please everyone support Amy through her LinkedIn. Of course, I do. Also, Amy was amazing enough to be on my show. And I always joke, this is almost probably over a year ago or even more. It's amazing how time flies. You can see that for free, everyone at Together for Sharon, click podcast, and then I don't know how, but we're at season 4 now, so we've had over 300. But I feel these shows live on really forever. So I appreciate that. And finally, everyone can go find our shows, and you'll see this one today at togetherforsharon.com, click podcast, and then All-Star PD Sportscast. But I was watching the other day, Tim, and went back in history and just couldn't believe some of the incredible. We actually covered the Brian Grant Foundation on episode 2 because that's how. So now we don't do 2 shows on one, but this was like an honor to have you, Amy, with us, and everyone can again take their time. Before we kind of wrap up, because I never like to conclude after the lights, camera, and paparazzi leave today, we still have work to be done until there's a cure at everybody's doorsteps around the world. I do have to also admit that basketball and Tim, his football, but basketball is like literally my life. So after I'll even be watching the Lakers game after. Unfortunately, Mr. Grant's not there, but they actually just got this. The Lakers center came from Portland, so DeAndre Ayton. So we won't get too technical here, Amy. You'll be won't want to come in. But I mean, I grew up in New York, but moved to Florida, so I remember Mr. Grant with the Miami Heat, and that was a pretty epic team. And I don't know if Amy's not didn't I don't know if have you met Mr. Grant a few times? Like what kind of
Oh
things?
yeah.
What do you
I
talk about? Like I know we met, so I mean I'm 6'2", Tim's tall. Imagine I would look like a little Smurf new Mr. Grant.
It's funny. My husband's tall. He's 6'3", and I always thought he was tall until he stood next to Brian. I was like, oh wow.
And what kind of things have I know, I always dream someday of coming to your beautiful gala, but I know he represents, so he's usually there. How's he
Yeah.
doing now? And, what's he up to? I hope someday, if he's at the World Parkinson Congress, love to just meet him and thank him. But, maybe you could share one story with Mr. Grant.
But he really is just the wonderful, just down to earth guy. But yeah, I see him at the galas all the time. And this past year, he brought all of his kids up, and we just did a little montage of when he was first diagnosed and the picture of them and where he is now. And it's just you just said that the time flies by, and you look and say, when you're first diagnosed with this, you're like, God, this is going to be a long haul. And then you look, it's like, oh man, look at the kids have grown and how they are stepping into this limelight and supporting him and becoming more involved with the foundation. But he's just somebody who is, like I said, you wouldn't think he's a celebrity because he's just so genuine. But he is, like I said, recently started working for the Blazers again, being, I think, like the coach, a mentor to the players. And so now, because of that, I don't really see him that often. But it's wonderful because that gives you, the working just helps to reinvigorate you sometimes and creates that community too that I think, he had before and is reinvigorating and bringing to light what you can still do with Parkinson's.
I love what you brought up. You brought up something important, which everyone here loves, his family and how important that is. I had the honor to speak to his children before on, I think it was LinkedIn, but we always, really love to see the family. I actually had a chance to speak to Mr. Michael J. Fox children just last Saturday. Wait till you see those pictures; they're pretty funny. But
Oh man.
I mean, they're also some more than others, but are out there also advocating, obviously, and sometimes family doesn't pick, their choices and who's diagnosed or what battle. I know sometimes for my family, it's tough because they don't understand why their grandmother's not here and why their father's flying all over the place, for volunteer, trying to
Yeah.
still bring a cure because sometimes we forget we don't want our kids or their kids to have to battle this. So I want to send this show back to Tim, and he has another follow-up before we kind of wrap up soon.
Well, again, I just want to touch it upon Mr. Grant too. I mean, one of the things that I've gotten on my other podcast, a little not criticized for, but I've said in a million ways, and it's too long to talk about now because time is short. But I have said that in some ways, in a lot of ways, Parkinson's has made me a better person. And I know that comes with struggles, and it comes with things that we deal with every day that you wouldn't wish upon your worst enemy. But listen, it takes your control away, and it teaches you that life is short, and to appreciate it, and to slow down, and to have gratitude. So there are a million things that Parkinson's has taught me that I'm a better person for it. And I always like to close with an inspiring quote. And I did not have to look too far than Mr. Brian Grant today. Let this sink in for a minute. Basketball gave me a life. Parkinson's taught me how to live. Wow. I think that
Yeah.
says it all. It says it all.
Yeah.
That hit me right here.
It was a couple of years ago that, kind of you complain, you complain. It's like, no, I'm going to sit here. What am I grateful for about Parkinson's? What has Parkinson's brought me? And that's exactly it, is I am a better, I like me now before that. I'm a better person now. I'm more patient. I'm recognize that other people are dealing with things as well. But like you said, you don't sweat the small stuff. It's very empowering not to care about, if I'm wearing the wrong outfit or something. No, I'm happy. This sparkly top brings me joy. You know, I have a better perspective on life. What is important? What's going to bring me joy? And exactly, Brian taught us how to live with this and how to truly live. And me, Tim, I couldn't have said it better. It's just, we are better people. And the community I have found too is just everybody reaches that mindset. And people I've met, perspectives they've given me are just invaluable.
And it takes it. Listen, it doesn't. It takes the Parkinson's world at different times to hit that. Some people hit fast. Some people never get it. It took me years, but you kind of just touched upon one thing that I always say. Through all the struggles, I don't want them, but I wouldn't trade this version of me for any other version in the past. And
Yeah.
that speaks volumes to what this disease can do for you, if you really just take the time to be grateful and shine a light on some of the things
Yeah.
some of the good things, like you said, that it could bring to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you're both my heroes. I can just sit. Maybe I'll join you when you if you have another show, and I'll just watch and listen and be a fan. But
Me and Amy,
by the way, Tim, any of your critics can call me and leave you alone. I don't mind. There should be no critics because we're all
My way,
doing
I'll change their minds.
we all do this, because we love everyone out there, and I don't want anyone to go through what my mother, our family did. And coming up, sadly for me, to the holidays, and there's always an empty seat at our table we keep for my mother. And that's why I do this, and that's why, again, both of you motivate me and everybody listening too. I don't feel you should ever feel alone because you're not alone. My mother, for 15 to 18 years, didn't even think someone else in the world had Parkinson's, and I don't regret anything, but I do wish I knew both of you because I think we would have had a cute, we would have laughed, cried, and laughed again on FaceTime together, and we just didn't know anyone was out there, and that's why we do this. So, Amy, again, what an honor. I wanted to thank you for your time, friendship, and can't wait to see you again. Hopefully, get a little more time. I was wondering, how can people reach you, and did you have any, kind of sayonara, sending off messages before you actually get to your holiday?
Well, first, George, I just want to thank you for all that you do. It says a lot when a caregiver, care partner, child, spouse comes out and advocates for us as well. And the interviews you have done, gosh, I have learned so much and met so many different people through you that has really, opened my eyes. And I appreciate all the work you put into this. And I kind of forgot what you just asked me now. People can reach me at amy@briangrant.org. You can search me out on any of the social media platforms. And, I'm willing to share, just connect if you need anything, a virtual hug, it's on your way. And any parting words, to anybody out there, give it time. It does get better. You are going to have an amazing life. It's not going to be the one you planned for, but you're still going to have something that is just amazing and full of joy, and embrace this community. And that's
Well,
about it.
I started my show and then we joined together, Tim and I, because I felt that, there's this amazing organization called the Brian Grant Foundation. There's others too, but imagine if we just reached one person today who might be, whether in Portland or in New Jersey and DC, that never even heard of it for some reason. I don't know how you didn't, but there are people like that. And I mean, there's somebody out there now doing something incredible. I don't know. And those are the journeys that keep me going. And I hope we found that, hope we found more than one, but if we even just found that one that can now connect to you, Amy, and the beautiful organization, things you're doing, I think we've changed the world for a better place, and specifically for that person. So thank you again, Amy. Thank
thank you.
Tim, and Tim, I never want to let go because I want so time to catch back up in the world of sports. It's going on and on. There's just so much. We never even, most of the show, we dedicate to selling the progression, but someday we're gonna have to just a sports show too, because it's in the name. But Tim, again, love you. Thanks for all the work you do, your friendship. The 5 a.m. feels like everyday text from me just saying, how are you feeling? And also, Tim's been struggling. I'm glad to see you joining us today standing up strong as always. It was not easy the last time, but guess what? Even though our show unfortunately didn't go because we had some issues behind the scenes, he was still there no matter what. And you know me, I had 4 back surgeries, and from the table and anesthesia, I was out there battling towards a cure.
George Parkinson's doesn't take a day off, so neither will we.
And I'm right next to both of your side, and you too, everyone listening around the world. Till is a cure at everybody's doorsteps. But I want to thank Amy. Thank you, Tim. Please go to my PD Party. You can follow Tim and his inspirational, really videos every day. I definitely inspired. You can find me at togetherforsharon.com. And this has been another episode of All Star PD Sportscast, where we talk about the discussion of world of sports, but how to slow the progression of Parkinson's disease. Please stay tuned. We have, I always say, a lot more shows are coming because we still have work to be done. We love you, Amy. We love you, everybody out
Thank you.
there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amy.